Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Exploring the Wisdom of ChatGPT. Today, we're tackling a huge question, one that could determine the future of our entire world. Will democracy survive? Or are we headed towards something else, like communism or even a technological dictatorship? It's no secret that the world is changing fast. AI, mass surveillance, global conflicts, and political tensions are shifting the way societies operate. So, I thought, why not ask AI itself what the future of government might look like? ChatGPT, let's start with this. Do you think democracy is in danger?
That's a great question. Democracy, as we know it today, is facing significant challenges. The rise of misinformation, polarization, and AI-driven propaganda is making it harder for people to trust their governments and even each other. At the same time, economic inequality and powerful tech corporations are concentrating influence in ways that could threaten democratic systems. That said, democracy has survived crises before. It's a flexible system, but whether it will adapt fast enough to modern challenges is the real question.
That's actually kind of scary. I mean, in the past, democracy had challenges, but now we have AI capable of influencing opinions on a mass scale. Do you think AI is a threat to democracy, or could it actually help make democracy stronger?
AI is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can help democracy by making governments more efficient, improving decision-making, and even fighting corruption through transparency tools. But on the other hand, AI can also manipulate public opinion like never before. Deepfakes, AI-generated propaganda, and social media algorithms can be used to control narratives and spread misinformation. The real danger is if AI becomes controlled by a small group of elites, whether that's governments, corporations, or even rogue actors.
Yeah, that makes sense. The people in control of AI will have insane power. But what if democracy actually collapses? What system would replace it?
If democracy were to collapse, the most likely alternatives would be 1. A technological dictatorship, where AI and surveillance systems monitor and control people's behavior, similar to China's social credit system but on a global scale. 2. Corporate oligarchy, where big tech and billionaires hold more power than elected governments, influencing policies to serve their own interests. 3. Neo-communism, a new form of centralized control where governments take over industries and distribute resources using AI rather than free markets. 4. Decentralized governance, a more optimistic alternative where blockchain and AI help create a decentralized, people-powered government without traditional politicians. Each of these possibilities depends on how society chooses to use technology in the coming decades.
Wow, so we could end up in a cyberpunk-style dictatorship or in some kind of AI-powered utopia, or somewhere in between. So do you think we're heading toward democracy's collapse, or does it still have a chance?
It depends on whether societies can regulate AI effectively and ensure that power remains distributed. If people stay engaged in politics, demand transparency, and push for ethical AI development, democracy has a chance to survive. But if the majority becomes complacent or lets corporations and governments control AI unchecked, democracy could be in serious trouble.
Alright, that's a lot to take in. But I think we need to go deeper. What historical patterns can tell us about democracy's future? And are there signs we should watch for that might tell us which way we're heading? Let's ask ChatGPT more about that in the next part. Alright, ChatGPT. We've talked about the challenges democracy is facing today, but I want to know, can history tell us anything about what happens next? Are there patterns that show how democracies rise and fall?
Yes, history gives us some clear warning signs about when democracies are at risk. One of the best examples is ancient Rome. It started as a republic, where citizens had a say in government, but over time, corruption, inequality, and power struggles led to its collapse. Eventually, democracy was replaced by an empire ruled by a single leader, Julius Caesar and the emperors who followed him. We see similar patterns in other cases like Weimar Germany, where economic instability and political division created an opening for authoritarian rule. The key warning signs that democracy is failing include 1. Extreme political polarization, when people are so divided that they stop believing in the democratic system. 2. Economic inequality, when the gap between the rich and poor gets too wide, people lose trust in the system. 3. Erosion of free speech and press, when governments or corporations control information, people can be manipulated easily. 4. Overuse of emergency powers. Leaders use crises to grab more power, sometimes permanently. And 5. Mass surveillance and AI control. When governments or tech companies monitor citizens too closely, democracy weakens.
Wow, so we're already seeing some of these signs today: polarization, rising inequality, and AI influencing public opinion. Does that mean we're on the same path as ancient Rome?
It's possible, but not guaranteed. The difference is that today we have technology that can either save democracy or destroy it. If societies make smart choices, like regulating AI, decentralizing power, and keeping governments accountable, democracy could evolve rather than collapse.
Okay, but let's talk worst-case scenario. If democracy collapses, what's the biggest threat? What kind of system is most likely to replace it?
The most likely replacement is a technological dictatorship. A world where AI, mass surveillance, and centralized control replace traditional democratic institutions. Imagine a system where every action you take is monitored, scored, and controlled by AI. Governments and corporations decide what information you see, and free speech is heavily restricted in the name of stability and security. It wouldn't happen overnight, but slowly, through small steps justified as necessary for safety and efficiency.
That sounds like something out of a dystopian movie. But isn't that already happening in some places?
Yes. In some countries, social credit systems and heavy surveillance are already shaping people's behavior. The question is whether the rest of the world follows that path or fights to preserve democracy.
All right, so what can we actually do to prevent this? Is there a way to upgrade democracy instead of letting it collapse?
Yes! Some experts believe democracy needs a technological upgrade, something like Democracy 2.0. This could involve decentralized governance using blockchain and AI to create open, transparent voting systems, AI-assisted decision-making, AI analyzing data to help governments make better policies without corruption, and more direct democracy, giving people more say in policies through digital voting rather than just electing politicians. If done right, technology could make democracy stronger instead of replacing it.
That's a really interesting idea, using AI to improve democracy instead of kill it. But is it realistic? Are governments actually moving in this direction?
It depends. Some countries are experimenting with digital democracy tools, but others are leaning toward authoritarian tech control. The future is still undecided, but the choices we make now will determine what kind of world we live in.
All right, ChatGPT. We've talked about how democracy is struggling, the warning signs from history, and the dangers of AI and mass surveillance. But now I want to know, what does the future actually look like? What kind of world are we heading toward?
There are three major possibilities for the future of democracy, depending on how societies use technology and distribute power. Governments and corporations control AI, surveillance, and public information. Free speech is restricted, and thought crimes are punished. People are ranked by social credit scores, affecting their ability to travel, work, or participate in society. Elections become meaningless as AI-controlled leaders make decisions for the greater good. Dissent is crushed before it even begins, using predictive AI to identify troublemakers. This is the darkest timeline. Democracy doesn't just die, it's replaced by an AI-powered police state.
That honestly sounds terrifying, but I can also see how it might happen, especially if people trade their freedom for security and convenience. What's the second scenario?
Democracy still exists, but in reality, corporations control most of the world. AI and automation replace millions of jobs, creating massive inequality. Wealthy elites use AI-driven lobbying to control governments and set policies in their favor. People are distracted by entertainment, social media, and AI-generated content, preventing real political engagement. Technology doesn't enslave people, but it keeps them comfortable enough that they don't fight back. This is the world where democracy technically survives, but in name only. It's an illusion controlled by the ultra-rich and powerful tech companies.
So, democracy wouldn't die outright, but it would become meaningless? That's not much better. Is there a good scenario? One where democracy actually works?
AI is used to enhance democracy, not control it. Governments use blockchain-based, transparent voting systems to eliminate corruption. People participate in direct democracy using AI tools to make informed decisions. Decentralized technologies prevent any one person or corporation from controlling society. Universal basic income and AI-driven economies ensure that people have financial security, freeing them to pursue creative and meaningful work. This is the best-case scenario, where technology is harnessed for fairness, freedom, and opportunity rather than control.
I really like that idea, but is it even possible? Or is it just wishful thinking?
It's possible, but it requires active participation from people. If society just goes with the flow, power will naturally concentrate in the hands of governments and corporations. But if people demand transparency, ethical AI, and decentralized power structures, they can shape a better future.
So what should people be doing right now if they want to avoid dystopia and move toward democracy 2.0?
Here are the 3 most important things people can do. 1. Stay informed, be critical of the information you consume, and don't fall for AI-generated propaganda. 2. Support ethical AI development, push for transparency in how AI is used, and demand accountability from governments and corporations. 3. Decentralize power, support technologies like blockchain, decentralized voting, and open-source AI to prevent control from being concentrated in the hands of a few.
So the future isn't set in stone, it's up to us, but the question is, will people actually take action? Or will they just sit back and let AI shape the world for them? I guess that's something we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly. The choice between democracy, dictatorship, or corporate control isn't made by governments alone. It's made by everyday people deciding what kind of world they want to live in.
And on that note, let's wrap this up. This has been an eye-opening conversation, and I hope it got you thinking about where the world is headed. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think democracy will survive, or are we heading toward a dystopian future? I'll see you in the next episode of Exploring the Wisdom of ChatGPT.